Hello, football fans. We are ready for NFL picks for week number 14 in the league where they play for pay. Let's get right to it. Week number 14, pick number 1. Let's go to Minnesota, where the Minnesota Vikings are minus 14 against the Detroit Lions. Minnesota down to 8-4, lost to Seattle last night. Minnesota now a game back of Green Bay for the division and only a game up on the Rams for that last playoff spot. That's how tough the NFC is. Detroit, they're down to 3-8-1, lost to Chicago. What else is new with the Lions? They keep finding ways to lose. They look lost as always. All right, Minnesota, 14-point favorite at home. Listen, if you're going to play this game the way to play it, 14 teaser, you get 12 points, you move it to 2, and you got to like the Vikings that way. That's the way I would play that game. That is pick number 1. Pick number 2. Let's go to the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field. The Green Bay Packers are also minus 14 against Washington. Green Bay up to 9-3, beat the Giants in the snow. Green Bay, like I just said, a game up on Minnesota for the division. Washington, they're up to 3-9. They've won 2 in a row, beat Carolina. I'll get to Carolina later, but give Washington credit. They were down 14-0 in that game, came storming back to win. They've won 2 in a row. I know it's been a terrible season for Washington, but they are still fighting to the end. Again, like the first game, for all you 14 teaser lovers, you get 12 points. Move it to 2. You got to like Green Bay that way. That's the way I would play that game. That is pick number 2. Pick number 3. Let's go down to Texas, where the Houston Texans are minus 8 against the Denver Broncos. Denver up to 4-8, beat the LA Chargers with the third quarterback, the young man from Missouri. He did some good things in that game. So Denver up to 4-8. Houston up to 8-4. Big win against New England. Made a lot of big plays in that game. So a nice solid win by the Texans. You know, they're also fighting with the Chiefs there for the seeding. You know, still not impossible that they can maybe get a higher seed, but they need to do a lot of work to do that. Probably need to win out. Need a lot of help from there. But Houston with a solid win over New England. Again, perfect 2-team teaser game here. You get 6 points. You move it down to 2. You got to like the Texans at home. You got to like the Texans at home to dispatch at Denver. You just have to. Denver now on their third quarterback. I know he did some good things, but now he's on the road. Houston coming off the big win against New England. You got to like Houston at home here. That's pick number 3 in a 2-team teaser. Pick number 4. Tremendous game here. Let's go to the Big Easy New Orleans. Superdome. Mardi Gras. Fat Tuesday. Who dat? With the New Orleans Saints are minus 3.5 against the San Francisco 49ers. Niners down to 10-2. Lost a tough, hard-fought, very good football game to Baltimore. That was a tremendous game. I hope you guys watched it. So now the Niners right now, because they lost to Seattle once, Seattle, won last night. Seattle is actually ahead of San Francisco. The Niners are right now in a wild card spot. I told you this could happen. You could possibly have a 13-3 San Francisco or Seattle as a wild card on the road in the first round against like an 8-8, 9-7 Cowboy team. That could happen. That's how tough that division is with Seattle and San Francisco. I mean, and I got a little bit of a problem with that. If you're a 13-3 team and you're going on the road facing an 8-8 team, and I know it's happened before, and you got to give the division winners a little extra credit and all that. That seems to me maybe they should change that rule. But anyway, back to this game. New Orleans up to 10-2. They beat Atlanta. This is a monster game. A monster game for seeding. New Orleans battling San Francisco and Seattle for top seed. San Francisco, Seattle battling for the division. The loser's going to be a wild card like I just mentioned. This is a monster game. And how about San Francisco's schedule? Let's go to Baltimore one week. And then the next week, let's go to New Orleans. 10-2 teams back-to-back on the road across the country. Ouch! I mean, my goodness. I've complained about the scheduling with the NFL a lot this year, what they did to the Raiders, a couple other teams, but this is a tough back-to-back. Spread's 3.5. New Orleans favored. I'm going to move the line to 9.5, and I'm going to take San Francisco here. They showed me a lot last week. I thought they'd hang in the game. I took them last week in a teaser. They covered for me. I think they can do the same thing this week. I think it's going to be that type of game, 3-point game either way. So I'm going to move it to 9.5 and take San Francisco. By the way, I'm using the early lines. These were the Sunday night lines. These lines, by the time you get a week later to the games, the lines may move a little bit, but I use the Sunday early lines, right after, the 4 o'clock games, East Coast time on Sunday, spreads start to come out, and I use those lines, and a week later, they're going to move a little bit, so keep that in mind. But I like San Francisco there in a 2-team teaser in a must-watch game. I told you to watch San Francisco and Baltimore last week. It did not disappoint. Watch this one this week. That's pick number 4. Pick number 5. Let's go up to Foxborough. Another tremendous game with the New England Patriots a -3 against the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City up to 8-4. They just smacked around Oakland. Chief defense the last couple weeks has been playing better. Now, they couldn't get any worse, but they are showing some signs of life. Can they continue it? We'll see, but their defense has been playing a little better lately. That was a very important win against the Raiders, and the Chiefs just smacked them around. New England, they're down to 10-2, lost to Houston. Oh my goodness, the sky is falling. New England's 10-2. I understand the offense is struggling. Defense gave up some big plays against the Texans. I still think New England will find a way to get it done on offense. They're still going to be right there, I think. They'll be in the AFC Championship game probably, and the game will be tight no matter who they're playing. Say they go into Baltimore, because Baltimore now has jumped them for the 1 seed. New England will find a way to somehow get it done. I'm not saying they're going to get to the Super Bowl, but they'll be at least in the mix. They're 10-2. Let's keep that in mind. Everyone's acting like, this is a 6-6 team. They're 10-2. Their 2 losses were to Baltimore and Houston on the road. That's no disgrace. I know the offense is stumbling and bumbling. I think they'll get a little better, the last month of the season. The defense is going to be there for you. Not quite time to push the panic button. And we've been here before with New England when we're ready to write them off. And what's happened? We've been here many times in the last decade. This game is tremendous. I'm going to move the line to 9 and take Kansas City. I think it'll be a close game. It's a fascinating game. These 2 teams played a very good game last year. Again, the game could go either way. New England's very tough to beat in their building. Another must-watch 3-point game. Very, very good game. I'll move it to 9 in a 2-team teaser and take the Chiefs, though. But those last 2 games I mentioned, must-watch games. That's pick number 5. Pick number 6. Go with the dog pound in Cleveland with the Cleveland Browns a -7.5 against the Cincinnati Bengals. Bengals finally get a win. They're up to 1-11, beat the Jets. I'll get to the Jets later too. Dalton gave them some life. The Bengal defense the last few weeks has been playing a little better. They've been in the games the last few weeks, the Bengals, so they finally get their first win. Browns, oh, what a disappointment. 5-7, lost to Pittsburgh. They're up 10-0. Pittsburgh has their 3rd-string quarterback in the game, and Pittsburgh can't move the ball from here to there. And then the game completely flips, and the Steelers win the game, and that basically puts Cleveland, I think, out of the playoff race. I really do. And what about the Cleveland coach? What about the Cleveland Brown coach, Kitchens, wearing that silly, stupid, moronic shirt that said the Steelers started it? What are you, in the 5th grade? You're the coach of the Cleveland Browns. Act like it. Show some professionalism. We know about the incident, which is now a few weeks ago. You think everyone wants to move on and get better and learn from it, and here comes this dope with that silly shirt on. The Steelers started it. Well, why don't you just wear a shirt that says liar, liar, pants on fire while you're at it? Talk about embarrassing. Embarrassing. If one of the players did that, I mean, the coaches should have chewed him out and told him to take that shirt off. But the head coach did it. How in the world, if you're the Browns coach, after everything that's gone on, you wear a juvenile shirt like that? The Steelers started it. I'm rubber, you're glue. I mean, what a joke. And then you go on the field and you lose to Pittsburgh with their third-string quarterback and you blow a 10-0 lead. And let's be honest, the Browns coach is not a head coach. He can go. To me, he's a coordinator. He's not a big-time head coach. He's never going to be a big-time head coach. He's a coordinator. He can go, and he can take his shirt with him. He can take his shirt with him. I thought that was so unprofessional by the Browns coach. You're an NFL coach. An NFL coach. And that's what you're sending? That's the message you're sending out there with that shirt? Embarrassing. Would Tomlin have ever done that? Would Belichick have ever done it? Would Tom Landry have ever done it? Would Don Shula have ever done that? Embarrassing. The Brown coach can go, and not just because of the shirt. I don't think he's a big-time head coach. I think he's a coordinator, and the Browns have been a flat-out disappointment this year. And after everything that's gone on with the Steelers and Browns the last 2 weeks, you think you want to move on, you want to learn from it, you want to act like an adult, you want to act professional as a head coach. You come out with a silly, dumb, moronic shirt like that, and then you lay an egg on the field. You can go. He can go. As far as this game, listen, to me, I would go two-team teaser here, move it to 1.5, and take Cleveland. I got to see that Cincinnati can do this 2 weeks in a row. I mean, I got to see that they can win 2 games in a row here. So I will go Cleveland to respond at home and beat Cincinnati. But I am so down on the Browns in general and the head coach. That was humiliating. Absolutely humiliating. And the Browns, again, the Browns always find ways to make themselves look bad. And here is another example. The Steelers started it. Liar, liar, pants on fire. That's pick number 6. Pick number 7, let's go down to Tampa Bay, where the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are -3.5 against the Indianapolis Colts. Colts lost to Tennessee. They're down to 6-6. They've got a bunch of injuries now, too. Hilton didn't play. Max hurt. Vinatieri, by the way. We all love Vinatieri. He's done. He's done. He is shot now. Vinatieri is done. And he had a great career. He's a Hall of Famer, made all the big kicks. He's done now. So that was a bad loss for Indianapolis at home. They really needed that game. Now they're starting to fall back. You know, they're behind a few teams now. So that was not a good loss for Indianapolis at home. And they had a lead in that game at one point of, I think, at 10 points, and then it all got away from them. Tampa Bay, they're up to 5-7, beat Jacksonville. I told you to take Tampa Bay last week. Tampa Bay is flaky. They are as flaky as their head coach and their quarterback, Winston. He's flaky. I told you, the guy could throw for 500 yards one week and the next week throw 8 interceptions. Flaky. Flaky. That's why it's so hard to predict what Tampa Bay is going to do. I'm going to move the line to 9.5, and I'm going to take the Colts here. You know, Tampa, one week they look great, the next week they don't. They here, they're spotty. And the Colts are the same way. They're up and down. So now I think the Colts are due for a better performance, and Tampa Bay's due for a letdown. Not one of my favorite games, but if I was to play it, 9.5, and I take the Colts are basically out of time here. They have to win this game. So I'll take the Colts. That's pick number 7. Pick number 8. Pick number 8. Let's go to the Meadowlands in New Jersey. Not too far from here, where the New York Football Jets are -6.5 against the Miami Dolphins. Dolphins up to 3-9, came storming back and beat the Eagles. Very nice win by the Dolphins. The Dolphins have been competing. They really have. And I know 3-9 is nothing to write home about, but considering what they were at the beginning of the year, they actually have made a little progress, and they are battling on the field. They were down 14 points to the Eagles, came storming back. So give the Dolphins credit. And then you got the New York Football Jets. Down to 4-8. The Jets had won 3 in a row. They had scored. They scored 34 points 3 weeks in a row. Their offense was cooking. They were actually talking about the playoffs. Yeah, playoffs. Jets. Remember what I told you last week? Not so fast. Now, I thought the Jets would beat the Bengals. I said, hold up on the playoff talk, but I did think the Jets would beat the Bengals. No. The Jets decided not to show up for this game. The Jets basically were still having Thanksgiving dinner on Sunday. They shouldn't have made the trip to Cincinnati. That was a horrible display of football by the New York Football Jets. They did diddly poo that game. And their offense, which was doing some amazing things the last 3 weeks, did nothing. They should have stayed home. Donald looked like a stuffed turkey. I mean, the Jet offense was putrid. It was weak. It was just anemic. It was awful. They should have stayed home. Where was the great Le'Veon Bell? Give me the ball 50 times. What a letdown by the Jets. And typical, just like the Browns. Typical Jets, just when you start to think the Jets are moving in the right direction, they lay one of these on you. And Gase, just like the Brown coach, not a big-time head coach. Not a big-time head coach. I don't see anything out of him. At the end of the year, I'd let him go too. And listen, it's not all his fault. Not all his fault. This was a complete egg by everybody involved with the Jets organization. This was embarrassing. They couldn't move the ball from here to there against the, at the time, 0-11 Bengals. They made Andy Dalton out. Andy Dalton looked like, Boomer Esiason when he played for the Bengals. Or Ken Anderson, the old Ken Anderson, when he played for the Bengals. Oh my, what a terrible loss by the Jets. Playoffs? They can't even beat a team with no wins. I really don't want to pick this game at all. And again, like the Brown game, I guess I'd move it to pick them in a teaser and take the Jets if I had to pick it. Jets already lost to Miami once this year, but I have to think, you would hope, the Jets are so mortified by the way they played last week that they'll come home this week and play a big-time game against a Miami team that can give up points. You would hope the Jet offense would get it going this week. You would hope so. Show some pride, Jets, and go out there and win and rebound off that disgusting loss in Cincinnati. If I had to play it, I'd take the Jets, just like Cleveland. If I had to play it, I'd take them. Because I don't love taking Cincinnati and Miami. But anyway, that's how I would play pick number 8. Gase can go. Pick number 9. Let's go to Philadelphia. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Where the Philadelphia Eagles are -8 against the New York Football Giants. Giants down to 2-10, lost to Green Bay. We know all about the Giants this year, whatever. How about the Eagles? Down to 5-7, lost to Miami, as I just mentioned. They had a 28-14 lead in the third quarter and all the momentum in the world. And what do? They fall flat on their face yet again. They let the Dolphins score 23 unanswered points. The Dolphins carved up the Eagles' defense like they were carving up a Thanksgiving roast. Unbelievable that the Eagles let that game slip away. Terrible loss. Now they're 5-7. They're still a game back of Dallas. And I think even if they were to beat Dallas, they'd still need to pick up another game because I believe they have, the worst conference record. So really, the Eagles now got to pick up 2 games on Dallas in 4 games. The Eagles basically, to me, have to win out and hope Dallas loses 2. And the Eagles do have a favorable schedule, but they just lost to Miami, so they're capable of losing to anybody. Anybody. 5-7. 5-7, and you lost to Miami. You could have tied for first, and you have the Cowboys coming into your building soon. You're up 28-14 against Miami, and you let them carve you up? Who are they playing? Dan Marino and the Marx brothers, Duper and Clayton? They made Ryan Fitzpatrick out to be Dan Marino in that game. Awful, awful, awful performance by Philadelphia, and I've said that way too many times the last 2 years. Despicable football by Philadelphia. And again, Jets in Cleveland, I look at this game and it's sitting there, perfect two-team teaser game. As much as I'm down on Philly, I like the Giants even less. So to me, you move it from 8-2 and you take the Eagles here. I mean, Philly, you have to win out. You have to beat Dallas. And you have to hope Dallas now loses one of their other games besides the Philly, Dallas game. Dallas really has to lose 2 games here, and Philly's got to win out. And I don't think that's going to happen. I think somehow, some way, Dallas is going to be in the playoffs. They could be 8-8. They could win the division and host the Niners, who could be 13-3. I think when all's said and done, and I'm sorry, Eagle fans, I think the Cowboys are going to find a way to win the division. Now, I felt like that all year. Awful, awful, despicable loss by the Eagles, but I'm forced to take them here in a 2-team teaser because, like I said, I like the Giants less. That's pick number 9. Pick number 10. Let's go out to Los Angeles. This is an interesting game with the Seattle Seahawks a -3.5 against the LA Rams. Rams up to 7-5, just bombed Arizona. Finally, the Rams showed some signs of life. They are 7-5. They've been a very disappointing 7-5, and the way they played against Baltimore 2 weeks ago was embarrassing. They played like a bunch of scared rabbits in that game. Oh no, the big bad Ravens are coming. Let's hide. Did the Niners do that this week? The Niners went toe-to-toe with the Ravens. Yeah, they lost, but at least they competed. The Rams didn't compete against the Ravens, but they did blow out Arizona. And they are only a game behind a playoff spot, so they're back in it. Let's see if the Rams can play consistent football here on out. That was the best they played against Arizona. It was against Arizona. How about Seattle? Anyone think Seattle is going to be 10-2 at this point of the year? I didn't. Seattle is doing an amazing job. Beat Minnesota last night. Seattle is now ahead of San Francisco. Now listen, they play one more time in Seattle. That'll probably decide the division. Seattle has done an amazing job, and they've won just about all the close games they've been in. That's a sign of a winner. That's a sign of the winner. One thing I don't want to hear any more talk about, I'm not a big MVP guy who wins the MVP. I know people love talking about that, Russell Wilson and, Jackson. To me, I could care less. They're both having fabulous seasons. I could care less about the MVP, just like I don't like the Heisman Trophy in college football. I think the Heisman Trophy is the biggest waste of time, and the biggest waste of time as far as television. The way they set that show up, I can't stand it. Can't stand it. And I don't really like the talk of MVP, Jackson, Wilson. They're both having great years. Leave it at that. I don't like individual awards. I don't. As far as this game, as you know, I like to wander off from time to time. I'm going to take a shot and move it to 9.5 and take the Rams. Rams played their best ball last week. They should be embarrassed how they played at home 2 weeks ago. Hopefully they play better. They're only a game out of a playoff spot. Seattle, tough game. Monday night, short week. Now they got to travel. They're in a lot of close games, Seattle. They win them all, but they're in a lot of close games. Division rivals. I'm going to move to 9.5, and I'm going to take the Rams. I want to see the Rams show me something this week. Compete. Don't be like a bunch of scared rabbits like you were against Baltimore. Oh, no, here come the Ravens. Oh, no. Please, Lamar Jackson, stay back. Compete this week, Rams. Compete. You got some big-time defensive players. Compete. That's pick number 10. Pick number 11. Let's go to Buffalo. Whoa, Buffalo, whoa, Buffalo, hey, whoa, Buffalo. How about the Bills? I got to give them credit. I told you last week if they beat Dallas on the road on Thanksgiving, I'd give them credit. We got to give the Bills some credit here. The Buffalo Bills are up to 9-3. On a short week, they go into Dallas and beat up the Cowboys. The Bills are having a very good season. And oh, by the way, they're only a game behind New England for the division. Did you realize that? And they play one more time in New England. But I believe they play one more time in New England. Buffalo lost a tough game to New England in Buffalo. I think they play one more time up in New England. Buffalo's only a game behind New England for the division. It's not impossible for Buffalo to catch New England. Buffalo has done a tremendous job. A tremendous job. When they fell behind Dallas 7-0 on Thanksgiving, I said, this is a tough spot for Buffalo. They're not going to win this game. And they just laid it on Dallas for most of that game. Buffalo has done a fantastic job. The quarterback has played well. They've beaten all the teams they should beat. Very, very nice job by the Buffalo Bills. Even the games they lost, I think, a tough game to Cleveland. They lost a tough game to New England. Kind of got blown out by Philadelphia, but they've been in most of their games, Buffalo. Won most of them. Even 2 of the 3 losses they could have won. So Buffalo has had a fantastic season. All credit to the Bills. Now they got the Ravens who come calling. Baltimore -6.5 in Buffalo. Like I mentioned, Buffalo up to 9-3. Nice win against Dallas, only a game behind New England. Baltimore up to 10-2. Beat San Francisco in a tremendous football game. That was a football game. Down to the wire. Teams getting stopped. Both teams getting stopped on 4th down. In the rain, knock them out, drag them out football, smash mouth football. Excellent game. Could be a Super Bowl preview. That was a fantastic football game. That was a great one. I'll tell you, the Niners have been in 2 amazing games this year. That one and a game against Seattle. And by the way, they lost both of them. It's the only 2 losses. But those were 2 amazing football games. And now Baltimore, they got the 1 seed right now, and you know how hard it is to go into Baltimore and win. So that 1 seed, very important. You know, New England never loses at home. Baltimore, very tough. That is an interesting race. This game is very fascinating. Listen, I owe Buffalo a pick. I owe them a pick. And I know it's tough going against Baltimore. Listen, I went against them last week in the teaser, and I won. I took the Niners. I'm going to do it again here this week. I'm going to move the line to 12.5 in a 2-team teaser and take Buffalo. It's not one of my favorite picks. I'm not saying they're going to win. But I owe Buffalo some respect here. I do. And I think they can hang around the game, especially at home. It's a very, very interesting game because you look at the records. Buffalo wins this game. They're actually ahead of Baltimore as far as record. That's how close these 2 teams are on record. And you don't talk that much about the Bills having this kind of record. They're right there with everyone in the league. 9-3 is right there. So I'm going to give Buffalo some respect this week. I'm going to take them with 12.5. It's another fascinating game. You got some good games this week, I'll tell you. Just going through a few of them here. You got New Orleans, San Francisco, tremendous. New England, Kansas City, tremendous. Seattle, the Rams. And this Baltimore-Buffalo game, you got some games this week, so that's pick number 11. Pick number 12. And I don't bet Thursday night football. This is the Thursday night game. Now, both of these teams have a full week rest because of Thanksgiving. Let's go to Soldier Field in Chicago. With the Dallas Cowboys on -3.5 against the Chicago Bears. Bears up to 6-6, beat Detroit. They haven't looked great, the Bears, but they are up to 6-6, won a couple in a row. And then you got the Cowboys. Down to 6-6, got bamboozled by Buffalo. I am really, really disappointed in the Dallas Cowboys. And like I said, I think they're still going to win the division and host the first round of the playoffs. I still think they're going to find a way to weasel in. They have been a major disappointment. Overhyped. And then you got Jerry Jones after the game talking about they're going to win the Super Bowl. He believes that, blah, 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 blah. And he goes on to say, this is not the right time to fire Garrett. You're right, Jerry. This wasn't the right time to fire Garrett. The time to fire Garrett was about a decade ago. As a matter of fact, you shouldn't have hired him. He's another one. He's not a good head coach. How many times do I have to say it? He's not a good head coach. He never was a good head coach. He's a coordinator. I don't understand Jerry Jones with Garrett. Jerry Jones looks like he wants to win at all costs. He's getting older, but yet this loyalty to Garrett, I don't understand it. And I don't want to put this all on Garrett. But by the way, if Garrett doesn't get to the Super Bowl, out. Out, 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 out. Get him out. Get him out. Anything short of getting to the Super Bowl and Garrett can go. Get him out. Out. But I don't want to put this all on Garrett. What about the players? What about the players? I mean, what a pitiful performance at home on Thanksgiving. Awful. Awful. They got chewed up by Buffalo. Dallas went right down the field and scored, and the rest of the game they were just making mistakes all over the place. Missing kicks, fumbling, bumbling, stumbling. How about that fourth down play where, Prescott threw it right into the ground? Oh, talk about an overhyped team. And don't anyone come at me and say I've been hard on the Cowboys. And I'm not a Cowboy fan. This show has treated the Cowboys very fairly. I've given them the benefit of the doubt week after week. I certainly haven't been hard on the Cowboys. So don't come at me saying I'm picking on Dallas, I'm on anti-Dallas. I pick Dallas a lot and give them credit a lot. So don't come my way and say I'm not giving Dallas credit. Right now they are overhyped. And I remember 2 years ago when they were 14-2, Cowboy fans were saying this team's better than the old Cowboy teams. And Prescott's better than Staubach and he's better than Aikman. Slow down. Slow down. And Elliott's better than Emmitt Smith. Slow down. And I remember 2 years ago when Dallas went 14-2, and I basically picked them and won most of the weeks with them. I picked against them 1 week. The 1 week they lost, I believe, against the Giants, I picked against them. And so many Cowboy fans, came after me. You're picking against Dallas? Oh, they're going to bomb the Giants. How could you pick against them? Please. No one has given the Cowboys more respect the last few years than me. And right now, they are overhyped. And like I said, I think they're still going to win the division. They're going to be in the tournament. And they're going to host a playoff game. Right now, they're overhyped. They're 6-6, and they have the same record as the Chicago Bears. They have a worse record than Tennessee. They have a worse record than the Steelers, and the Steelers are playing with their third-string quarterback who's known for a duck-calling contest. Don't tell me the Cowboys are playing great football. And Garrett takes blame. How about the players? Gutless effort on Thanksgiving. Gutless effort on Thanksgiving. Gutless effort on Thanksgiving. They score right away and that's it. That's it. They do nothing the rest of the game. Embarrassing football. Embarrassing football by Dallas. Overhyped. I don't like this game at all. I don't bet Thursday Night Football. If I had to bet it, I guess I move it to 9.5 and take Chicago. I have Chicago, the home field. Who knows about the weather there in Chicago this time of the year. Both teams are 6-6. That's the way I would play it. Don't love it. Wouldn't go near it. Both teams are, odd. They're both flaky. Both, to me, underachievers this year. That's the way I would play that game. And no, there'll be no, how about them Cowboys this week? No. They don't deserve it. Overhyped. Overhyped Cowboys. That's pick number 12. Pick number 13, let's go to the desert in Arizona. With the Arizona Cardinals, I'll pick them with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh up to 7-5, beat Cleveland with the third-string quarterback. Listen, you got to give Pittsburgh some credit here. You got to give Tomlin some credit. This team was dead in the water at the beginning of the year. Roethlisberger was out. They've had all sorts of issues on offense with Schuster and Connor. Their defense is really, really good now. They made that trade for Fitzpatrick. He's been very good. The Steelers defense is playing lights out. They're a team to keep an eye on next year if Roethlisberger gets back healthy. If they can keep this defense intact. The defense is very good now. You have to give Pittsburgh some credit. 7-5. They're in the last playoff spot. Did you ever think that about 6 weeks ago? I didn't. So Pittsburgh beats Cleveland. Arizona, they're down to 3-8-1. They got pasted by the Rams. Listen, I talked about Arizona last week. They were in most of their games this year. I think they only got blown out once by Seattle. They got pasted by the Rams. This game was over in the first quarter. The first half of the first quarter. This is how the Cardinals played in preseason when I was worried about them. I saw them a couple times in preseason. I don't watch too much preseason, but just flicking around, I saw them a little bit, and I said, wow, the Cardinals could be a train wreck this year. Rookie quarterback, rookie coach. They actually have been very competitive. They weren't against the Rams. They were downright awful in that game. Quarterback regressed, interceptions all over the place, sacks all over the place. That was a pitiful performance by Arizona. If I had to play this game, and this is a mess, I'll move the line to 6 and take Pittsburgh just because I think their defense can do the job on Arizona. Look what the Rams did to Arizona last week. I think Pittsburgh can cause some havoc against that young rookie quarterback, force some turnovers. Arizona's defense is awful, so if the Steelers are going to ever get their offense cooking, it might be this week. You'd like to get Schuster and Connor back on the field. Who knows about them? But I got to go with Pittsburgh, especially off last week, and especially what this game means to both teams. Arizona's long out of it. Pittsburgh, they're in the last playoff spot right now. I'll take Pittsburgh. That's pick number 13. Pick number 14. Let's go out to Oakland. The Oakland Alameda County Coliseum. Chucky! The Grim Reaper. Vader. The Gorilla. And I'll tell you, there'll be some sad Raider fans this week because the Raiders are going in the opposite direction. Tennessee, -3 at Oakland. Oakland down to 6-6. Got blown out by Kansas City. Oakland looks like I have nothing left. Blown out 2 weeks ago by the Jets. Blown out by the Chiefs. A ton of injuries. The Raiders are going in the wrong direction. They look like they have nothing left. They put up a good fight for a while. They had a murderous schedule. They look like they got nothing left. And then you got Tennessee. They're going the other way. Since they went to Tannehill, they're playing good football. They're up to 7-5. Big road win at Indy. Tennessee's right there for a playoff spot. I don't love this game. And when early in the year, you look at this spread, you say, oh, go to 9 and take Oakland in a 2-team teaser. But the way these two teams are playing now, I go money line and I take Tennessee. I think Tennessee is going this way and Oakland's going down. Oakland has showed you nothing the last 2 weeks. They didn't score a touchdown in like 10 weeks and the only 10 quarters. And the only touchdown they got was at the end of the game against the Chiefs, a nothing touchdown. The Raiders look like they are done. I know they're playing at home. Maybe that gives them a little boost. But Tennessee right now to me is playing better. So I got to go Titans there. That's pick number 14. And these last two games I'll probably throw out. Atlanta at home, -2 against Carolina. Atlanta down to 3-9, lost to New Orleans. No surprise there. I don't know how Atlanta beat New Orleans the first time. Don't know how that happened. And then you got Carolina, 5-7, lost at home to Washington. Lost at home to Washington. Carolina scored 14 points in the first 10 minutes of the game, and we're up 14-0 against a Washington team that had 2 wins and hadn't had a road win all year. And what does Carolina do from that point on? At home, they get outscored 29-0 at one point, and Washington stuffs the ball down their face with the running game over and over again. The Carolina defense smells. They made Adrian Peterson look like Tony Dorsett in his prime. What an embarrassing performance again at home by Carolina. Remember 2 weeks ago at home, Carolina? When they lost, 26-3 to Atlanta and couldn't get the ball in the end zone? They're up 14-0 here against Washington, who had no road wins. Carolina a chance to get to 6-6. And they get outscored 29-0 at one point. and let Washington in that running game stuff the ball down their face. Then Carolina, at the end of the game, they score a touchdown. Washington's in a prevent, so Carolina makes it 29-21. They get the onside kick. They hit a bomb. They're at the 1-yard line. So a touchdown, 2-point conversion, they can suddenly tie this game. What do they do at the 1? Hand off to McCaffrey, loses yardage. Second down, hand off to McCaffrey, very creative again, loses yardage. Third down, they almost throw an interception. And then on fourth down, Allen's running around like a chicken with his head cut off, gets sacked, and is like a turtle laying on his back as Washington's celebrating. What a terrible loss by Carolina. Embarrassing. How do you lose to Washington at home? You score 14 points in the first 10 minutes, and you don't score basically till the end of the game? You let Washington, who can't score 30 points on anybody in 3... Washington couldn't score 29 points in 3 games combined. They scored 29 points against Carolina in about 3 quarters. And then you have a chance, Carolina, to rally, and you get stuffed at the 1-yard line. And basically, Carolina has become all about McCaffrey. It's either him or nothing. I know Cam Newton's out and he's missed the whole year. Yeah, gotta be able to beat Washington at home. And another thing, and I bashed some coaches today, Ron Rivera can go. I've seen enough of Ron Rivera with those sunglasses on the sidelines like he's posing for GQ. Take your glasses, Riverboat Ron, and get on a boat and get out of here. I've had enough of Ron Rivera. The last 2 home games, Carolina lost 26-3 to Atlanta and lost to Washington and blew a 14-0 lead and at one point got outscored 29-0 and then 4 straight plays got stuffed inside the 5-yard line. I've seen enough Ron Rivera, and I know he's done some decent things in the past. I've had enough. It's time for a change in Carolina. Good night, Ron Rivera. Take your GQ sunglasses, Riverboat Ron, and get on a riverboat and go up the Nile and go somewhere else. We've had enough of you. Ron Rivera can go. And I'm not picking this game on general principle. I can't pick. This is a throwout. This is a throwout. I can't take this game. But Ron Rivera can go. Once again, take your GQ sunglasses and all your poses on the sideline like you missed a model there. Riverboat Ron. Get on a boat and drift out to sea. Had enough of him, and I'm not picking this game on general principle. And the same thing for pick number 16. How about this one? The LA Chargers are -3 against the Jacksonville Jaguars in Jacksonville. Chargers down to 4-8, lost to Denver. Typical Charger game. Fall behind early, have a frenetic comeback, and then have some ridiculous way to lose at the end. Typical Rivers, typical Chargers. 4-8. 4-8. And I've seen enough of Rivers, and you know what? I'm starting to see enough of the Charger coach as well. Every game I watch the Chargers, they fall behind early, then a frenetic comeback to get back in the game, and then they lose in some devastating fashion. This game was tied with 8 seconds left with the Chargers kicking off, and they lost the game. Every week. And Phillip Rivers and Stafford for the Lions are mirror images of each other. I don't want to hear about all their stats and all this, and they'll probably both make the Hall of Fame. How many playoff wins do they have? How many Super Bowl trips do they have between them? And how many times have they won the Super Bowl? And then you got Jacksonville. And I told you this last week. Jacksonville gets an awful lot of respect with the spread for a team that hasn't done anything in a month. And now they've been blown out 4 straight weeks. They're down to 4-8. Bombed by Tampa. Tried to kind of sneak back in the game, but fell way short. Foles has been awful. Minshew, the bloom is off the rose with him, although they're going with him the rest of the year. That big, bad Jacksonville defense stinks. It stinks. It stinks. It stinks. They have gotten blown out 4 straight weeks, Jacksonville. 4 straight weeks. Bombed. Not in the game. Bombed. 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 Bombed by Houston. Bombed by the Colts. Bombed by Tennessee. Bombed by Tampa Bay in Jacksonville. So I'm not picking this game either. This is another just slop ball. Slop ball. Chargers, Jacksonville, and my bags are packed. My bags are packed. Chargers, Jacksonville in North Florida this week. Who's with me? Who wants to see this great game? Plenty of seats available in the old Gator Bowl. Road trip. Phillip Rivers against Minshew. Let's go. 2 deplorable, disappointing teams, and I'm not picking that game, just like I'm not picking Atlanta, Carolina, or general principle, because I don't know what you're going to get from these 4 teams. So those are my picks for Week 14. Thanks as always for the support. Pick a lot of winners, make a lot of money, and like I always tell you guys, you bet the games the way you want to. Me, I love my 2-team teasers and I love my money line. You guys like betting against the spread. You like your 3-team teaser, 4-team teaser, super teaser. You go that way. Me, I do the best when I'm picking money line and 2-team teaser. Those are the way I usually bet my games. But you guys like 3-team teasers, 4-team teasers, super teasers. You want to bet against the spread these games. You bet the way you want to bet. Pick a lot of money. Make a lot of money. Pick a lot of winners. Thanks as always for the support as always. I'll talk to you guys next Tuesday, Week 15 already. How fast is NFL season going by? Thanks again for the support. Pick a lot of winners, make a lot of money. I'll talk to you guys Tuesday. Take care.